When we come to this Thai Bangalore event, the focus is on entrepreneurship. Now we want to shift the focus to Bangalore. Now Bangalore is a very unique city for very many reasons. It's India's only global city. I think most of you have greater interaction with the Silicon Valley and the US rather than with New Delhi. New Delhi is the oppressive capital of an imperial power far away, and I don't think we vibe with it. This city has around 45,000 PhDs, 900,000 people in IT, something like 155, 160,000 crores of IT exports, the third largest quantum of bank deposits in India for any city, the third largest quantum of income tax paid in India is from Bangalore. I think a few years ago we were number 2, but now we are number 3. Bangalore also has the unique distinction of having an ecosystem which fosters entrepreneurship. 45% of startups are from Bangalore. I think 600 startups, 45%, 248 or 50 came from Bangalore. And Bangalore is a bigger brand around the world than Karnataka, and sometimes people know more about Bangalore globally than they know about India in terms of what impact it has. And sadly, the city is not what it used to be. The challenge with Bangalore is we have 9 million people, a per capita income now of $9,200. It's the richest city in India in terms of per capita income, and growing faster, richer than Bombay in per capita income, and growing faster in terms of per capita income than any city in India. And the infrastructure of Bangalore has not kept pace. We have 5 million vehicles for a 9 million population, and the reason is very clear. Governments in this country know how to handle poverty, shortages, rationing. But when it comes to prosperity, when it comes to a higher standard of living, and when people start buying cars and houses, they don't know what to do. Bangalore's got the best retail market for real estate in India. I think about 110,000 flats are sold every year. And it is not an investor's market like Bombay or Delhi where black money comes into play. It is actual users market. And some of the best real estate companies in this country, some of the most ethical, are from Bangalore. So our focus in BPAC is to rejuvenate Bangalore, recreate Bangalore, and to make sure that Bangalore becomes what we always thought Bangalore to be. Because to us, Bangalore is an idea of a place where the best and the brightest from all over the world can come and sit and work, including all over India. And many of us have come from other cities. We're not from Bangalore, we're not born here. A place which is tolerant to the outsider, a place which has enough for everybody to realize their own potential, and a place which has a very supporting ecosystem with a high quality of life. So Bangalore is an idea like India was an idea when we got freedom by a great set of people who gave up their lives, their careers to fight for freedom and to recreate a country in their image. So Bangalore is an intellectual idea too, and we have to reclaim this idea. Now if you go back to the freedom movement, you'll find that the best and the brightest people from India came together to fight for freedom from the British. They were great scholars. They were the elite of society. And today elite has got a bad name. I don't know why elite should be a bad name. It should be proud to be elite. There was Dr. Ambedkar, Subhash Chandra Bose, Maulana Azad, Gandhi and Nehru and everybody else. But they were intellectuals of a high order. Now in the last 60 years, the intelligentsia of this country has forsaken politics and went into the economic sphere, leaving the field of politics to many other people to enter. And today we see that in the last 65 years, political power has gone down to the lowest level of a society, and which is very good. In the first decade of independence, political power was in the hands of the ruling elite, 5% of the population. In the second and third decade, political power went down to the farmer zamindars, or whoever they were, who were part of an establishment. Then in the 70s, due to JP and the Mandal Commission later, political power went on to the OBC, now it's gone to the Dalit community. So it's come down throughout the layers of a society and is rechanging society like no time else, and creating a fervor of many things that will change society. And that's a very good thing, because people at the bottom of the pyramid have to be empowered to make a great society. But at the same time, the leadership that is thrown out from various layers does not have the vision of India as envisaged by our founding fathers in the Constitution. They become sectarian, they become representatives of a particular caste or a group, And the ideas are very often in conflict with the big idea of what India should be. And as a result, we find corruption getting increase, misgovernance coming into play, the quality of life going down for everybody, and many of these ills. So it is time for a renaissance where people who are accomplished come back to claim what they ought to do to rebuild the society, and we thought the best place to do that is in the city for Bangalore. Why? Because Bangalore is a large middle-class city. 40% of Bangaloreans have a degree. No city in India has 40% of the population being educated and having a degree. And I think that's a very important thing. So they're largely middle class. We don't have an established business class like Chennai has, or Bombay has, or Delhi has. We have an entrepreneur class which are professional from the educated middle classes, and their attitudes to life are very, very different compared to a traditional feudal business class or family business classes that are there in other cities. So if we can recreate Bangalore and do anything else, we can become the role model for the rest of the country and a harbinger of what the future should be for India. So we set up BPAC to create an engagement with the political leadership of the city. And politics is not bad. Politics is not lousy. And politicians are corrupt, yes, some of them, but we should engage with them because politics is the process by which we build a society. Politics is the process by which you reconcile differences in a society. In a democracy, everybody's got a different view, and we've got to come back to build a consensus. So we need a Rajiv Gowda, RARK, to build this consensus so that there is something for everybody and people don't feel left out. And it's very, very essential. While we from the educated middle class, accomplished people may want a particular view of a city, that necessarily may not be the city or the society that other people want. And other people are as entitled to live in the city as we are. And maybe our view is very partisan, and maybe we need this. So we need politics. And politics requires money. If you all think that there are going to be a set of people in this country who are going to fight elections, who are going to sacrifice the personal lives, the lives of the children for economic advancement, and put their own money and fight elections and give us good governance without being corrupt, we must be crazy. Because elections cost money. A Rajiv cannot fight an election unless we all give money. And all of us refuse to give money. Our corporates refuse to give money. Our business leaders like a Murthy or Premji say, no, politics, we don't want to give money. All billionaires refuse to give money. But where will money come to fight the elections? Money will come from the crooks, the corrupt, contractors, will come from the smugglers, will come from the real estate mafia and all illegal elements, and you get a society like this which is ruled by illegal money. So we have to create this engagement. We have to bring back good people into politics. We have to fund their election campaign in an ethical, open manner. And that's the reason why BPAC is set up. So BPAC is set up. In the last election, we endorsed 14 candidates. We give away 1.2, 1.3 crores, given by only 2 or 3 people. Nobody funded us like you have a problem funding. Everybody talks, but nobody wants to shell out money. And the very sad thing, they want a good society, they don't need to pay for it. And you've got to pay for it in politics. I mean, you've got to pay for this guy to get into politics to build a better society. And we'll tell him, hey, Rajiv, good guy, come and speak to us, have a nice dinner, and goodbye. When it comes to money, look the other way. RK doesn't get money. So, we endorse 14 people, out of which 5-6 people were goody-goody types whom we knew were not going to win, but we had to do that just to demonstrate good people require support. 7 were politicians for all political parties, because we are not partisan, we are political, out of which 5 won. We met Deve Gowda. We met the Congress party, and we met the JDU, and we found a very interesting thing. Very, very interesting. And what was that interesting thing? The interesting thing was, they told us, look, we are in politics to come to power. Chandrasekhar, the young Turk, erstwhile young Turk, said, the objective of politicians is to be in power. So we want to be in power. But to be in power, we need people, candidates who are winnable. And who is winnable today? People who are winnable today are the people with money, because they have to spend on elections. Now elections have become a business where you buy votes. They pay you 5,000 rupees and ask you for your vote. It's very simple. You spend 30-40 crores, you come to power. And we don't have good people who can join us and get that money or whatever to spend little bit of money to come to power. So we are forced to compromise in the quality of candidates. It's a remarkable insight by a veteran politician. And he was very enthusiastic towards us. And he said, I like Bangalore, I like urban Bangalore, but I'm mistaken, whatever it is. So we went to the Congress party, we found everything else. And we were shocked and surprised at the helplessness they face in politics to get good candidates because all of us keep away from politics and we don't participate. So the elections got over. Now we have had 4 meetings with the MLAs whom we endorsed, and they told us what they do. And we found a very funny thing. Good people want our endorsement. And because of our endorsement, we like to believe, 6 lakh people more registered as voters, 11 lakh more people voted, and many people came and asked us, whom should we vote for? That means you're so disengaged with the political process, you don't even know your candidates, you don't even want to know your candidates. And we're all this Anna Hazare type, yeah, corrupt cooks, and all that. But then who's going to rule this country? Anna. He's not going to come and rule this country. We need an RK, we need a Deve Gowda, we need a, Rajnath Singh, we need a Mulayam. Why? Because they connect with people. So now, having done all that, we came up with the idea, how do you remake Bangalore? To remake Bangalore, you must change the governance of Bangalore. Bangalore city has got 200 wards. 70 lakh electorate, 200 wards. In each ward, there are 35,000 people who are voters. And these 35,000 people vote councillors to run Bangalore city. Bangalore city makes up 60% of Karnataka's GDP and 65% of Karnataka's tax. So it is the engine for the state. Very powerful. Out of these 200 ward members, 105 come from the real estate industry. They're all real estate brokers. Can you believe that? Huh? Contractors, real estate brokers who feed off the system. And Bangalore city has got a budget of 6,500-7,000 crores. It's not funny anymore. It's pretty big. Garbage has 500 crores budget, and garbage, they make money. Everything they make money, and we get rotten streets, debris in the road, and garbage, and we crib, and we yell, and we all live in air-conditioned houses, we have gated communities, we have air-conditioned cars, we go to the airport, but you can't escape the road. You can't escape the debris in front of the road. That hits you. So, we said we had to remake Bangalore. To remake Bangalore, we came up with the idea of the Bangalore City Civic Leadership Incubator. What is that? We want to invite people who are concerned citizens, who have a inclination for public service, to come, come with us, and we will work out a course for them, where we will talk about how the city is governed, what needs to be done, and take them to the entire process and make them understand how the government works. Hopefully we know a little bit, or we get some experts to do that, and then help them set up an office, give them a little bit of funding, so that in their ward, they set up an office, they go in for voter registration, we'll work with them to get more people in. We will ask them to interact with the voters, take all their complaints, go to the streets and create committees, and engage with the voters in that particular place. And when the elections come for the ward committees in 2015, give them some funding, not too much, a little bit of funding, whatever we can, to fight and contest the elections. And this will be people who stay in the wards, who are concerned, who want to do public service, who got a track record of public service, and who have an inclination for public service. I don't know how many of you want to do that. Hopefully some of you do that, because the best mayor in the world is Bloomberg. He's one of you. He's an entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur, and he's remade New York. We got to remake Bangalore. And we need somebody like that, like a Bloomberg. Want somebody in this room, a great entrepreneur who wants to remake Bangalore. So we want to do all this as a civic leadership incubator. What is the output? In 200 wards, 35,000 voters, 70% may vote. 70% of 35,000 is some 22, 23,000. There'll be 3 or 4 contestants. So if you get 8,000 votes in a ward, you can become the victor. 8,000 votes. Hopefully, it should not be difficult to get 8,000 votes. And if you interact with people, the educated middle class, the enthusiasm and into the anger may actually come and vote for you, and we got to create this. We'll create the background thing for them. And just imagine, out of 200 wards, 35, 40 people come through the incubator are people who are accomplished, who want to do public service for Bangalore. Then Bangalore City Corporation will be run by these people. And imagine all of us outside supporting them. They're inside in the council. The media is on our side. Then we become the most powerful political force for the right reasons in the state of Karnataka. Then we work with the government to rewrite the legislation for Bangalore. Bangalore City has got an act called the Karnataka Municipal Corporations Act, which was made many years ago, where the mayor has got one term of 1 year. a non-descriptive person becomes the mayor. It's a bit of a joke. I want Rajiv to be the mayor. We want maybe RK to be the mayor. RK Rajiv will stand out to the world as mayors of Bangalore. They're the face of Bangalore. And we want them to be like a chief executive with full powers running through the council, democratically elected. So we have to change the governance model, change the law. And if you have this, we can lobby to change the law. The Kasturangan committee gave recommendation, but the government of Karnataka doesn't want to change the law because they have a full-time mayor. He or she becomes the most powerful person in the state. Because Bangalore is 60% of GDP. So they don't want to do that. So we got to force them. And in the manifesto of the Congress and everybody else, they promised to do that, right, Rajiv? And he'll write the manifesto. I don't think they understood what it was, but he did it. So, but this is what we want to do in the Bangalore Civic Leadership Incubator.